Okay, so today I'm going to show you a trick for finding trig values using your hand. Okay, you need your left hand and you need to have your palm facing you, sort of like you're reading your little cheat sheet that you've written on your palm. Okay, and your pi over 2 is the same as your y-axis right here. You need to know that. And your 0 and 2 pi is your x-axis. So it's sort of like you're in quadrant 1 right here. Okay. Now, when you need to find the measure of, or one of these trig values, okay, like say for instance we're trying to find the sine of pi over 4, and we have that memorized. Okay, what you need to do is pull in the finger of the radian measure. That's the comma of your ordered pair, or you can think of it sort of like as your boundary. Okay, so I'm going to pull in that finger. I'm going to fold it over. Okay, now look at your hand. The top fingers represent cosine. The bottom fingers represent sine. And so here's your formula. The square root of your fingers in wherever spot they're supposed to be over 2. That's for sine and cosine. So sine of pi over 4, I pull in that finger. Sine is the fingers on the bottom, so that is the square root of 2 over 2. How cool is that? Okay, now say we need to find something like cosecant, okay? Then what little part you need to remember is that cosecant is the same as 1 over sine, okay? Secant is 1 over cosine. So the way I remember that is that I remember the C's don't go together, can't match up the same letters. So cosecant's 1 over sine, secant's 1 over cosine. Okay, so we just did the pi over 4, so let's see, cosecant of pi over 4. So cosecant is 1 over sine pi over 4, and we just said that sine of pi over 4 is the square root of 2 over 2. Square root of 2 over 2. So 1 divided by a fraction is the same as flipping that fraction over. So and I'll write it out for you. 1 divided by square root of 2 over 2 is the same as 1 times 2 over the square root of 2. So cosecant pi over 4 is, oops, put it in the wrong spot already. Look at me. Square root of 2. I did it again. Okay, third time's the charm. We get it right. Is 2 over the square root of 2. That's cosecant of pi over 4. Okay, now say for instance you need, well, let's see, tangent, and then we'll do some examples. So tangent, you have to remember, is sine over cosine, and cotangent is cosine over sine. Now, slightly different formula for tangent and cotangent. It's actually the square root of fingers over the square root of fingers. So square root of fingers over the square root of fingers. Okay, so if I wanted to find the tangent of, say, pi over 3, then I need sine pi over 3 over cosine pi over 3. Alright, so let's find out what those are. So I take my pi over 3 finger, here's my pi over 3 finger, and I bend that in, okay? Now sine is my bottom fingers, so that one is the square root of 3. I'll start it over here. Square root of 3 over 2, so that's my top fraction. I'll write it in both places. And then cosine of pi over 3, those are my top fingers. So square root of 1, which is just 1, over 2. Okay, so you've got fraction divided by fraction. So remember, you multiply by the reciprocal. So square root of 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. 2's cancel, and you're left with square root of 3. So tangent of pi over 3 is the square root of 3. How cool is that? Now, cotangent's the other way. Now, some people say they just remember flip your hand on tan. That way your top fingers are your sine fingers and your bottom fingers are cosine. But I don't even worry about it that far. I just do the little bit of algebra work that it's asking me to do. Okay, so that's if we are in the first quadrant. The problem occurs when we get into the second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. We don't really know what to do. So let's get an example up there. Say, for instance, we wanted cosine of 5 pi over 6. Okay, so here's your instructions right here. I want you to put a box around the coefficient, box, okay, and find the trig value for what's left. So I want you to find cosine of pi over 6. And so here's going to be our answer. There's our box so far. Cosine of pi over 6. Okay, smish that finger in here. Cosine are your top fingers. So that's the square root of 3 over 2. So I'm going to put that in front here. Okay, our box is for our SIGN sign. It's either going to be positive or negative. Okay, so square root of 3 over 2. Let's see what it's going to be. We need 5 pi over 6. So if you separate these out into sixes, you start with 0, then that's 3, 6, 9, and back around is 12. And what I mean by counting by threes, you've got 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6. You can go all the way around. Okay? Well, we needed 5 pi over 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's that guy. Okay? Now you have to remember that cosine represents the x-coordinate and sine represents the y-coordinate. So we needed cosine of 5 pi over 6. What is the x-coordinate right here in this quadrant? Quadrant 2. It's negative. Therefore, my answer is negative. You got it? You think? Maybe? Okay, well, I did learn another little trick for remembering which ones are positive or negative in which quadrant. And you can say that this is all students take calculus if you want. Well, all functions are positive in quadrant 1. In quadrant 2, we've got sine and cosecant. Just think those are the two that go together. In the third quadrant, we've got tangent and cotangent are positive. And then in the fourth quadrant, cosine and secant are positive. So, if you look at our list right here, if you had that memorized, cosine of pi over 6, the only place that cosine is actually positive is over here on the right hand side. So that's just that little trick for that. But I find it easier just to count my sixes and go all the way around. So you do whatever works for you. Okay, I think we did most of our examples, but just in case we didn't, let's take a look. We did sine pi over 4, but just in case we can do it again. Sine was our bottom fingers, so that was the square root of 2 over 2. Okay, then cosine of pi over 6, or 5 pi over 6, we just did that one. So we needed to find the cosine of pi over 6. Now we put a box around that coefficient. Okay, cosine is the top, square root of 3 over 2. And then we look to see where 5 out of 6 would be. And we said that was going to be right here, because 6 over 6 would be a 1 half circle right here. And so we said cosine was the x-coordinate, and our x's are negative there, and our y's are positive. So cosine's negative, we said it was negative root 3 over 2. Okay, then we need cosecant of 11 pi over 3. Okay, remember cosecant cannot go with cosine because they both start with a C. So that's 1 over sine. Remember the 11 goes in a box, pi over 3. Okay, so that is going to come back eventually. So we need sine of pi over 3. Bend that finger in, and we have square root of 3 over 2. So it's 1 divided by square root of 3 over 2, which is the same as 1 times 2 over square root of 3, which is 2 over the square root of 3. And you can rationalize that if you need to, if your teacher asks you to. But, okay, so we need the sine, which is the y-coordinate, wherever 11 over 3 is. Now, a very special student told me that I need to think of everything in sixes. So 11 over 3 is the same as 22 over 6. So I gotta think, where would 22 be? Well, that's 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. Then when I do a whole complete other revolution, it's 24. But if, in case you needed to go fill them in, okay, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. Okay, so 22 is right down here. Now you can remember all students take calculus and that C represented cosine and secant, or you can just remember that this is 1 over sine. Well, your x's are positive here, your y's are negative. Remember, sine represents negative, so our answer is negative 2 over the square root of 3. Or if you rationalized your denominator, negative 2 times the square root of 3 over 3. So probably either one of those would be acceptable. Okay, then we have tangent of 7 pi over 3. So we have tangent of 7 pi over 3. Now remember, tangent is sine over cosine. So we need sine of something pi over 3 over cosine of something pi over 3. So let's look and see what the cosines and sines of pi over 3 are first. And we'll get that part. Okay, the sine of pi over 3, bottom fingers, that's the square root of 3 over 2. And the cosine of pi over 3 is 1/2. So we've got the square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, which is the square root of 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. 2's cancel, and we're left with square root of 3. Okay, now we need to go back and look at our sines. Sines, S-I-G-N sines. So we want tangent of 7 over 3. If you think in terms of sixes, that's 14 over 6. Well, let's see where that's going to occur. We've got 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So 14 is right here, and everything is positive right there. So we've got positive square root of 3. Okay. The only other thing that I think I wanted to leave you with is sometimes you might have a problem that might say sine of negative 7 pi over 3. Now what's the significance of that negative? Well, that just means that instead of going that way, which is counterclockwise, the negative takes you back the other way. So if you're starting there, you're going this way, which would be clockwise. Okay, so 7 over 3 is the same 14 over 6, but it might not be in the same place because now we're going down first, not up. So that's 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So 14 over 6 would actually be down here. And down here your cosine, which is x, is positive. Your sine is negative. So sine of negative 7 pi over 3, whatever your answer is going to be negative. Let's see, sine of pi over 3 is the square root of 3 over 2. Okay? So that's what you do when you have a negative number. Now that's all for your trig little trick there. Hope you got it. If not, come see me and have a great day.